as I say, in this day and age, especially the young ones, and even in the 60s and 70s, they created the whole New Age movement. And it was like a shopping mall. You couldn't go into the traditional religions, but you could go into all the new ones we're putting out there. Hinduism was fine. You could meditate forever and take dope. The governments loved that because it really spun the brains of millions of youth. It helped to promote the sexual promiscuity that they wanted to foster so that they wouldn't bind for life. And again, you'll find the Frankfurt School was behind that. They wanted that. They said that would work, and it did work. The multiple partners, they will not stay with one partner for any length of time. And then they gave them Buddhism. Buddhism's fantastic too because, again, there's no rules. You see, you do what you want. There's no rules. There's no laws of cause and effect. If you do this, this will happen to you. You can always postpone it to another life, and pay it off in an afterlife like a credit card. I mean, this was the stuff that they were promoting then. And its main objective, as the Frankfurt School said, was to destroy Christianity. That's only one they were after, Christianity. Now, of course, it's the Muslims' turn. And that's what all this is about too. They will not allow a Muslim. In the Muslim culture, see, it's not just a religion, it's a whole culture and a governmental system. It is not democratic. It was never meant to be democratic. We don't have democracy. Democracy is a front. As much of a front as the great cries that they gave the communists for the revolutions. You'll all be free and working together for a wonderful utopia. The workers' paradise, they called it. It's always a big lie. And so is democracy. Democracy is central banking, the monopolization of all governmental departments by a plutocracy that are often intermarried and know each other very well. And massive debt. All you are at the bottom level is a producer and consumer and taxpayer. That's your duty. Under citizenship, under international law and citizenship, that's your duty. That's all your function is. There was in Canada, in a microcosm in Sudbury, where they voted in the local council. And then they found that the council members were all liars and were helping themselves, and as they always do, they're all corrupt. Because that's the only type who go for power, you see, in politics and so on. And one guy took it up to the Supreme Court trying to get rid of this bunch. And he was told by the Supreme Court of Canada, no, under democracy, the only right you have is to vote someone in. What they do when they're in is up to them. They can do whatever they want. That's it. That's what democracy is. It's a top-down dictate to the public of what you do next and how you behave next and what you'll pay next and so on. That's what democracy is. And again, in democracy, you always find and always recognizing minority groups. Well, minority groups, again, were fostered by the Comintern and the Frankfurt School. They also got your government's tax money to help fund the Frankfurt School that mixed with the Macy Group to create this particular culture and society. And with its massive debt and all the rest of it. And they couldn't get enough working people who were disaffected to go along with this Marxist idea. So they created minority groups. That's what they said. We must create minority groups and get them all working together along our agenda. The followers don't have to really know what they're really after. Only the leaders won't know. But there's never any shortage of followers amongst the youth. All the professors who agitated through the 60s and 70s were placed there by the CIA. And the CIA was never there to defend the American people any more than the MI6 was there to defend the British people. That's the truth of it. Here's an article here. FBI urges Congress to expand internet wiretapping. And it says the FBI urged members of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism and Homeland Security on Thursday to update the Communications Assistance to Law Enforcement Act, that's called the CALEA Act, and make it easier for authorities to eavesdrop on the internet. That act was first passed in 1994 and requires telecommunications companies to design their equipment and services to ensure that law enforcement and national security officials can monitor telephones and other communications whenever necessary. That's faxes, phones, Everything has a back door in it and a chip that can be activated to allow them to come in. All your computers too, all your spyware, etc. must have back doors built into them by law since 1994. Over the years, through interpretation of the statute by the Federal Communications Commission, the reach of CALEA has been expanded to include facilities-based broadband internet access and voice over internet protocol services that are fully interconnected with the public switched telephone network, the FBI General Counsel Valeria Caproni told the subcommittee. Although that expansion of coverage has been extremely helpful, CALEA does not cover popular internet-based communications, modalities such as webmail, social networking sites, or peer-to-peer services, which is not true at all. As a result, although the government may obtain a court order authorizing the collection of certain communications, it often serves that order on a provider who does not have an obligation under CALEA to be prepared to execute it, she explained. Such providers may not have intercept capabilities in place at the time that they receive the order. What they want now is to put it in all software as well, by the way. And by the way, they can get what they want through the NSA. They're just a bit ticked if they ask the NSA. That's all this is about. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, I'm back and we're cutting through the matrix here. And where I mean about the Frankfurt School, you have no idea the incredible influence that had. Look at the websites for Laurel Canyon, where a lot of these characters started too in the music industry. They already had Hollywood on the go for years, long before that, bringing you down step by step. And Adorno, Theodor Adorno, was one of their main architects of this plan, and it was all backed by the U.S. government, by the way, your whole cultural shift. He said this Eros was precisely the weapon that the Frankfurt School and their fellow travelers employed. Eros is sex and exotica, so on. Over the next 50 years to create a cultural paradigm shift away from the so-called authoritarian matrix of man in the living image of God, the sanctity of the nuclear family, and the superiority of the republican form of nation-state over all other forms of political organization. They transformed American culture towards an erotic, perverse matrix associated with their present politically correct tyranny. They brought in the whole terms of political correctness. There's words you can't use now, terms you can't use. It was them. You got them to thank for it. It's still on the go today, by the way, at the top of governments. So political correct tyranny of tolerance and dehumanization and drug abuse, sexual perversion, and the glorification of violence. That's what you've been fed. For the Marxist Freudian revolutionaries of the Frankfurt School, the ultimate antidote to the hated Western Judeo-Christian civilization was to tear that civilization down from the inside by turning out generations of necrophiliacs. And that was a term that Theodor Adorno from the Frankfurt School called it, a system of necrophilia, where literally anything will go. And now we have bodies hanging on wires that have been plasticized, on display at museums. We have even pregnant ones they killed when they were pregnant, and here's the fetus in the womb, hanging on wires, on skateboards, sitting at bars, etc., etc. We're already there. There's your culture industry at work in Hollywood and in music television with Lady Gaga, covered in blood, artificial blood and all the rest of it, going through her whole act. I wanted to do an act with these hanging body-wired characters too, and make it sexy. You think this is all coincidence? I'm reading stuff from years ago, from their own books, to you. And it's all here. And everybody whistles this. They don't even whistle anymore. They just kind of hum along to what they call tunes now. These tuneless songs are out there. No melodies whatsoever. And of course lots of the sexual beats and the sexual ones where everyone wants to be a whore apparently, right up until they're about 50 or 60. They can't age anymore. They're terrified to age and stop wearing miniskirts and high heels. It's amazing. It's all worked. You never had anything to do with creating a culture, but professionals did. And these professionals had created cultures long before yours. That's why they have so much information and on the abilities and the sciences of actually introducing it and planning it and running it for you. And here you are today. And no one thinks anymore when the American and the British Air Force takes off and bombs the hell out of countries. No one cares when you see bodies all over the place. It's not you, it's getting blown up. You're too busy with much music and all the rest of it, all your perversions. And they make sure there's lots of that on the internet for you too, don't they? I'm surprised, and I'm just disgusted often at how easy it was for them to do with society. From Hamish and myself from Ontario, Canada, it's good night to me. Your God or your gods go with you.